How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Weatherstorm5000, and in this video, of course, we're going to talk about the next couple of winter storms that should move through the western half of the United States and determine if we could potentially see a significant winter storm impact the Midwest by next week. And we'll also go more into detail with this next major Texas snowstorm where you could experience up to a foot of snow in some localized areas. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content. So let's begin by taking a look at the GFS computer model at this time. And here's how the United States is looking like right now. We do have this jet stream dip centered right around the northeast at this time, but for the most part, temperatures are hovering around average, as there isn't necessarily a very significant jet stream dip. There is a small one in the northeast, but isn't necessarily bringing a ton of cold air down to the northeast. However, the big feature that we're paying close attention to is this feature right here, where we're seeing snow showers and rain showers right around the Pacific Northwest at this time, and this is expected to become the pretty much the triggering factor that will lead to this next major snowstorm for Texas and also bring heavy rainfall right around the northeast. So in my previous videos, we were talking about the possibility of whether or not we'll see a significant snowstorm for the northeast. However, it seems like in terms of a widespread major snowstorm, it seems like that chance is definitely unlikely at this time for the northeast. We could, of course, still see some snow in the higher elevations of the northeast, such as the Adirondack Mountains of upstate New York and the northern portions of Vermont and New Hampshire. But other than that, it doesn't seem like there's going to be enough cold air to really see necessarily a widespread major snowstorm impact the northeast by your this Thanksgiving weekend. However, you still need to be concerned with heavy rain and potentially strong winds associated with this trough moving through, because there will be enough instability to where we're going to see the winds increase as this low pressure system continues to move further eastward. We do see that there's still expected to be a significant jet stream dip associated with this trough that's going to move through the Rocky Mountain ranges, and that will lead to this low pressure system to intensify and deepen once it encounters a very warm and moist air mass that's located right around the Gulf of Mexico, and that will trigger the possibility of some snow right around the northwestern portion of Texas near the Lubbock area. You need to pay very close attention to heavy snowfall, and this low pressure system is expected to move relatively slowly because it's gonna sort of gonna disconnect itself from the jet stream and pretty much evolve more into an independent upper level low, where of course it isn't necessarily being steered directly by the jet stream. So the steering currents are very weak. This low pressure system will linger over the same area for a relatively long time relative to how storms move during the winter time, and so that's gonna lead to the possibility of a lot of heavy snowfall accumulation throughout the western portion of Texas. We do see the storm linger for quite a bit before eventually moving eastward, and it's still gonna strengthen as it moves eastward because there's still gonna be a highly unstable environment as this moves northeastward, thanks to another significant jet stream that's expected to move right behind this low pressure system as this approaches the northeast, and we could see heavy rainfall and thunderstorm activity right around the southeast as a result of this during the late Thanksgiving weekend time frame. But in terms of what to expect for Texas, we do see that the snow is gonna primarily affect areas those right around western Texas, and in terms of certainty, it's pretty certain at this time you will experience a snowstorm right around western Texas. It's going to be difficult to really pinpoint where exactly the heaviest snow will be right around western Texas because, like I said, the steering currents are going to be relatively weak by the time the low pressure system moves towards Texas. And when the steering currents are weak, it's very difficult to really determine where the low pressure system will maneuver. While I could say for certainty that the western part of Texas, especially the northwestern portion right around the Panhandle, will experience snowfall. Exactly where will be a little bit difficult, but you should at least expect accumulating snowfall somewhere along the southern Panhandle of Texas or the northwestern portion of Texas. If we were to take a look at the snowfall accumulation forecast right around the western portion of Texas, we do see that there are some areas that could receive up to a foot of snow. Now, this is assuming that 1 inch of precipitable rainfall equates to 10 inches of snow. That isn't always the case, especially when the temperature is a little bit higher than the freezing point, where there's a little bit more moisture per snowflake, but it's at least around the ballpark in terms of what you could expect when it comes to snowfall accumulation. And based on what the GFS model is stating, we could see an area anywhere between 6 to 10, 12 inches of snow throughout the panhandle of Texas. And the European model also agrees that there will be accumulating snowfall associated with this storm as it continues to move further southeastward. However, the European model, of course, is showing a pretty big difference when it comes to not only the location of the heaviest snowfall, but also in terms of the actual amount of snowfall accumulation you should expect, because we see some areas in the European model scenario taking up to 2 feet of snow, which is very, very concerning, and you need to prepare as if it's going to snow 2 feet. It's better to be safe than sorry right around the northwestern portion of Texas, because the European model is still a very reliable computer model, and you definitely don't want to rule it out that possibility you could receive well over a foot of snow right around the northwestern portion of Texas. Right now, I'm leaning more towards maybe the 6 to 12 inch range. However, there's certainly that possibility it could be even more than that, and we could even see that accumulating snowfall move as far west as New Mexico, really depending on how this storm maneuvers itself, and of course how much cold air there will be, because this might not necessarily have enough cold air to dump a widespread amount of snowfall, or necessarily enough instability to produce a widespread area of snowfall. So it's going to be difficult to forecast this snowstorm, that's for certain, because the steering currents are going to be a little bit too weak to really determine how this storm will maneuver. But you should at the very least expect accumulating snowfall throughout Texas, and I'd give estimation that you should expect anywhere from 6 to 12 inches in the worst part of Texas, with potentially even more snow in certain areas. So make sure to prepare for that possibility. And even outside of the northwestern portion of Texas, you should expect some snowfall right around the higher elevations of Colorado, Wyoming, extending to the western portion of Montana, and the higher elevations of Idaho as well, where you could expect anywhere between 3 to 6 to 6 to 12 inches. And then, of course, in the Cascade region of Washington, you could expect over a foot of snow. So you need to pay very close attention if you live in the higher elevations, and if you're a snow lover, which I know many of you guys watching this video are, this might be a great time to go skiing, as this will bring a decent amount of snowfall, especially right around the Cascade Mountain region, as well as portions of the Rocky Mountains. So if you're into snow, or if you're into skiing, this might be a good time to do it this Thanksgiving weekend. But make sure to at least stay safe and be aware of this scenario and this potentially major winter storm right around Texas, as it's pretty certain at this point you will experience accumulating snowfall. Now, in terms of anything else we're paying close attention to when it comes to winter weather throughout the United States, after this initial trough moves through Texas, of course you need to expect heavy rain along the East Coast. We're going to see that the European model really wants to linger this low pressure system over Texas for a long period of time, which is the reason why the European model wants to bring such heavy snowfall accumulation throughout the western portion of Texas and New Mexico, because the steering currents are so weak that it's pretty much entirely disconnected from the jet stream, but there's still enough cold air to produce heavy snowfall right around western Texas. But eventually the storm will move east and get caught up by the jet stream. However, behind this storm, we're going to have another pretty significant trough come off the Pacific Northwest coast, as it's typical to see this during a La Nina winter, especially since we're almost approaching the month of December at this point, and we could see another round of heavy snowfall throughout the higher elevations of the pretty much the entirety of the West Coast, even extending into California, where the Sierra mountain ranges could expect potentially your first heavy snowfall of the year from this, as this low pressure system continues to move southward, and we could see rain move into San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego as well. And we'll see that snow extend to the northern portion of Arizona, New Mexico, as well as Colorado as well. But another big thing we're going to need to pay close attention to is whether or not we'll see the possibility that this could develop our next significant snowstorm right around the Midwest. At this point, it's of course highly uncertain, and we do see that the European model wants to strengthen this low pressure system quite a bit, but there isn't necessarily a very large area of snowfall. We're really going to need to determine how significant this jet stream dip will be, how strong the northerly flow will be, to really determine how much instability this low pressure system will encounter to rapidly intensify and potentially bring significant snow throughout the northern Midwest. And the GFS model also agrees with this scenario that there could be a major snowstorm on the way for the Midwest by next week. If I were to continue to move forward, the GFS model is also in heavy agreement that we're going to see a pretty significant low pressure system move through the Pacific Northwest, bring heavy snow throughout the West Coast, including right around the Nevada area into Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and of course the Pacific Northwest. But we could see that potential for a major Midwest snowstorm. It could even extend snow to the Northeast. Still a lot of time to iron out the forecast. We're going to need to see how much cold air will be locked in place, which will take several days to figure out, especially since we need to see how this low pressure system will move towards the East Coast first to really determine how strong it will be, how strong the northerly winds will be, to really determine how much cold air there will be by the time this trough moves through. But I'll make sure to keep you guys updated. But in terms of the amount of snowfall you should expect over the next week or so for the entirety of the United States, you're going to see that a heavy amount of snowfall should be expected over the next 7 days for the higher elevations, where of course the higher elevations of the Cascade Mountains could receive potentially over 3 feet of snow over the next 7 days, and we will see could see that snow even move down into California as well, where a lot of areas in the Sierra mountain ranges could experience well over a foot of snow, and this extends to the higher elevations of Arizona and Colorado and Utah as well. So make sure to pay close attention to that over the next several days. Now, and of course, we're going to need to pay close attention to this next potential Midwest snowstorm. Now, take a look at the Futurecast radar to see when you should expect your first snowfall right around western Texas. So you see that this trough is currently as of by tomorrow will be located right around Montana and the Wyoming area. And if I were to continue to move forward, we will see that by Wednesday night, it should move southward with some snow showers extending to Colorado. And we do see the instability begin to increase based on the thunderstorm activity we're beginning to see right around Texas as this trough moves through and as this jet stream dips. And we will see another independent upper level low develop right around Texas, which will create the possibility of snowfall. I'd say as early as potentially Thursday afternoon. That's when you should expect your first potentially your first snow, and this should extend for a long duration on Friday, because like I said, the steering currents will be very slow, so it's likely going to snow over the same area for a relatively long period of time. Now, take a look at the North Atlantic oscillation anomaly. So this is another important thing we need to take a look at during the winter time frame. We do see that we're expecting to be in the negative phase over the next month. So it's more likely than not we're going to experience more significant jet stream dips. So that could enhance the possibility of major snowstorms moving through the United States for at least in the very near future, within the next 2 to 4 weeks. So it's definitely something to be aware of over the next several weeks, that we're going to be in negative North Atlantic oscillation. So we should see significant jet stream dips as a result. Now, taking a look at my forecast when it comes to snowfall accumulation over the next week. So throughout the northern panhandle of Texas, Texas, you should expect 6 to 12 inches of snow, which is considered a major snowstorm for you guys. And in some areas, that's a year's worth of snowfall in one snowstorm. So it's definitely something you want to stay prepared for in Texas and even the eastern portion of New Mexico. You need to pay close attention to this potential major snowstorm that's expected to impact you guys by the Thursday to Friday time frame. So make sure to pay close attention to that. Of course, pay attention to the snow in the higher elevations of the West Coast as well, where you could experience over a foot of snow right around the Cascade Mountain region, and 6 to 12 inches snow in areas just outside of that. And we're going to need to pay close attention to that possibility of a major Midwest snowstorm by next week. Really going to need to determine how much instability there will be to really determine if we'll see this major snowstorm come about by next week. But anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content, and I hope you guys have a great day.